Is the audio okay? I guess it is okay now. So we'll just continue with the presentation. Yeah, so last time we uh, read about units of editing, organization, types of edit, and input functions. So just a quick recap of what it is. Units of editing comes as short, scene, sequence, reel, then the whole film. Organization is how you structure your folders, how you structure your bins in your editing program. Types of edit is different types of uh, ability to trim or manage or move clips like trim edit, triple edit, or override edit, place on top, and all that. And input functions are different types of functions that allow you to add or subtract clips from the timeline onto the timeline, like those input functions. Oh, my bad, I just mixed it up. Type of edits is trim edit, ripple edit, rolling edit. Input functions are insert, override, place on top, append at the end. These are kind of so the edits that we are talking about. So before moving on, I would like to address something that is not completely technical, but it is pertaining to our field as we go through lots of changes and corrections. So it is easy for an artist to just get carried away and like get his or her emotion mixed up about what he she believes about the project and what he she believes is uh, her own property as she or he builds up the project, because we spend so much of time in the project that it starts to become our own figment of imagination, our own property, so as to say an intellectual property. So an ego comes in if someone's saying, oh, don't do this, like it's so bad, and just change it into this, and you feel kind of weird about it, bad about it, because you spent like 16 hours crafting that to perfection, and someone's like, no, no, this is all garbage, just remove it. Okay, so yeah, you do have to acknowledge that there is ego. Being an artist, there will always be an ego, but that's not the problem. The problem is not able to keep it under control, because in the end the goal is the picture, the bigger picture, the film itself. No one is above the film. The film is the mm, ultimate goal for everyone who is associated with that project, and everyone is trying to reach the same place. So you have to see and feel in terms of the film, not in terms of what makes you look as a better artist. Oh, you did this looks so amazing. So it looks amazing for you, as you can display your skill set, but does it satisfies the film? Maybe not. So if it does not, then you must have the ability, must have the courage and the wisdom to to go and absorb it and try to figure what is best for the film. Moving on, another thing, editing is very subjective. There is there is there can be a lot of situations where you are like, okay, this is the best I can craft this story, and but your director or DOP comes like, this is garbage, or this is not we had in our mind. Like, what are you thinking? You did not get the idea at all. Needless to say, nonetheless, there are a few thumb rules for crafting a good story. There are thumb rules for good narration, and we'll be looking at those narrations later. Okay, so now let's get on with the parts that we have left in the first session. And also, as a side note, the last session was over 2 hours long. I don't intend to occupy your time for so long, so this session will be strictly 1 hour, and I'll try to cover everything that is remaining 1 hour. To be concise, it will be fast. If you need, you can come back to this video later, because it will be uploaded, and you can pause and go through it, take notes or whatever. Okay, so I'm just trying to complete it so that like we stick to the time. Okay, because time management is a good practice, is important practice in our field, and I don't intend to break that discipline. Okay, so moving on, track targeting. So we left here at track targeting. So track targeting is something that is extremely important regarding your uh, input functions and your edits. So track targeting has two components in itself: the track destination selection and the auto selector. The track destination is something that uh, allows, enables, or disables where the incoming clip or outgoing clip will be destined to. So if you are inserting something, will it come at V1 or V3 or V15 or whatever, or where the audio will come at A1 or A6 or A2 or whatever. So you can have asymmetric uh, track targeting, like you are inserting a video that comes at V3, but it comes at A1. The audio is at track 1 and the video is at track 3. Auto selector is when you edit. So to simply decipher it, it is something that is when you are editing, it is the auto selector function that comes into play. When you are inserting something, bringing in clips, that is when the track destination comes into play. That's the most simplest form to understand it. All the editing, you do a ripple edit. What all clips will be moved or affected by that ripple edit is controlled by the auto selector button. You enable all those tracks where you want the ripple edit to ripple to, affect to, that will be enabled or disabled by auto selector. When you're bringing in clip, will it stay on top of some clip? Will it override something? That will be selected or deselected by track destination button. Okay, moving on. So this is how a timeline looks in a big project. Okay, and yeah, it is daunting, it is scary, but there is a method to the madness. It is not random, it is actually highly specific. It is extremely surgical in its approach. So in coming slides, we will break down what something like this, where there are V tracks as in video tracks, and down below there are audio tracks. So uh, say for example, I will just use the pen. These tracks, these are video tracks, okay, and these are audio tracks, and what you see in between, this is what we call as TC. Okay, so TC is basically your timeline counter, or this is your seek where you get your time code. Okay, so yeah, and also this photograph, this timeline is from Avid Media Composer. Avid Media Composer is the most widely used editing software in Hollywood. It is very safe to say that 95% of all Hollywood films are edited in Avid. And why? We will get that in a next video. So um, these four video tracks are important, primary in nature, and these about 8 or 10 audio tracks are important and primary in nature, and we will get to them in the next slide. Okay, so yeah, breaking down. I'll be doing back and forth a lot. So yeah, A, my bad, just a second. Yeah, sorry. Uh, Breaking down from V1 to V4. What happens in V1 to V4? This is V1 to V4. Okay, so this much, as in this much. Okay, So in V1 to V4, this is your primary picture edit. So this is where you craft your entire story from scratch, from starting. Okay, and here you apply simple visual effects like fade in, fade out, dip to black, dip to white, cross dissolves, and all that. Okay, so this is where your bulk of the editing is done. Okay, then we go to V5. Okay, here this is V5. Okay, so V5 is something that is for special things like green screen, like rotoscoping, like CGI. Okay, these are, you can say, synthetic elements that we bring into the picture and make it a part of the film. Things that are completely created in computer or animation or whatever. So a green screen studio shot is replaced by, say, a jungle shot, because the green screen is replaced by an artificially created environment of jungle. Rotoscoping, taking the subject out of the background, CGI, computer generated imagery, and all that. Then we go to the V6. So this is V6 and this was V5. My bad. V6 is where you apply a temporary grade. Why we need V6 temporary grade? You would ask. We would need a temporary grade because most of the cinema cameras that most of the movies, web series, and all that shows are shot on shoot extremely flat images, like very low contrast, very low saturation. It will be very difficult to see the actors and their performance in such low contrast situations. So what you do, you apply a quick color correction or a LUT or a show LUT or something like that to bring image to an level where it is closely matched to what you saw with your eyes on the set. There is nothing special going on. It's just bringing everything to a neutral point. That is it. So that you can actually see and judge and calculate, okay, what shot you want, what shot you don't want. Is there something in the scene you don't like? Because when the saturation is low, when the contrast is low, every shot is perfect because all the imperfection is hidden. It is only when you color correct it, have good contrast and saturation, you find, oh, this was that, this was that. So this is important. Second, seventh is matte. Okay, this is your seventh. Yeah. So matte, M-A-T-T-E, matte. Matte is black bars, literally as simple as that, black bars. Why, you would ask, that Hollywood is applying black bars? It is a very good practice to apply a black bar above all your clips so that there is no, what we call as, illegal leakage. So maybe you adjusted the zoom of one clip to reframe it and then pulled it down or up or slightly somewhere, and but you don't notice, but there is a small 2 pixel thin black line on top of it because your footage was not exactly pixel perfect when it was being positioned. So now you have a thin line of empty screen that was not supposed to be there. That is what we call as illegal leakage. So you put a black bar, it covers everything with a buffer so that everything stays within it, and that black bar gives you a little bit of room to adjust things as well. And it ensures two things: first, that your whole picture is coherent, and second, it gives you a sort of, like a temporary slate to provide some information. So we'll see in higher tracks like V8 subtitle. When you add a subtitle, this is where a subtitle comes generally for the post-production people. Okay, maybe it's a foreign language or something, it's been interpreted or translated something. This black bar is where you will have, say, on the lower black bar portion, you will have the subtitle for the editor to understand what is going on. Um, then V9 is here. I'll just change the color. This is our V9. Okay, so V9 again uses that real estate of the black bars. uh, V9 contains things like clip details and short informations, frame numbers, scene numbers, and whatnot. This is where you would add a temporary uh, text, dynamic text that changes from clip to clip, say dynamic text. So you want those information to go to, say, a VFX artist who needs number of frames, which frame they are on. They would need all that information. Or you would need that a particular clip to go to a CGI artist, or someone who is doing the VFX. So they would need the color space and the gamma of that clip to match it in their editing software and whatnot. So and all this happens mostly in the top black uh, portion of the video. This is where you give the information on demand basis. One artist asks one sort of information on the clip, another artist asks another information sort of clip. So this is where that thing goes. Okay, now we go to the audio. Audio is the biggest thing that you need to understand, is the most important one, that putting a video on top of another video, there is less likely, there's less chance that you will end up seeing both the videos. It is not common for us to see two videos at once. How would we see that? Horizontally split, vertically split, or being merged into one another with a slight VFX. But that is not how we see things often. Okay, 9 out of 10 times we don't see like that. But that's not the case with audio. We hear a lot of things at the same time. So you can stack like 18 audio tracks and hear all of them together. Like in a music, you hear 6 instruments at the same time. What is that? That means those audio instruments are being stacked on top of each other. Here top means bottom, so on top of each other, vertically downwards. So that's the reason we have a lot more audio tracks than video tracks. So here audio goes from A1 to A17. Okay, so let's see what happens to A1 to A17. Starting from A1 to A3. Okay, change the color of my, yeah. So here is A1 to A3. Okay, this is where your dialogue goes. Okay, and the dialogue here that you put is mono. The dialogue is never stereo. It is always recorded as mono. Okay. If you get a dialogue that is not mono, you do a proper conversion from stereo to mono. Why, you would ask? Because if the dialogue is not mono, then uh, what we call as phase shift might happen. Dialogue might be dialogue might feel like it's coming more towards the left, or more towards the right, or more towards the back than more towards the front. So we don't want that. We want a straight audio with no spatial uh, positioning. Okay, so whatever should happen to the dialogue, say a person is talking and that person walks by. Okay, so you want that audio to pan from um, your right to left, but that should be done in the post production, not when it is recorded. It should be recorded without the change of spatial dimensions, spatial coordinates. Okay, so hence audio is always mono. Next we have narration. So in A4 here goes narration. Okay, narration is any narration voiceover that goes, it goes here, A4. Also it is mono. From A5 to A8, SFX, sound effects, but mono sound effects. Okay, so these mono sound effects are something, it will go from here to here. Yeah, so mono sound effects are something that you want omnipresent, that should come in both the ears in equal amount. There is no panning. Like a door opening, when you open the door, when you are opening the door, when the character is opening the door, okay, you are facing the door. So door cannot, a door opening, a door slam shut cannot feel like it is coming more from here or more from here. No, it is on your face. So you hear it right center. So every sound effect that comes in the center channel is mono, and it comes here in these three tracks. And also sound effects such as footsteps, door opening, closing, any cup, utensil picking up, gear, putting it down, whatever. These effects, sound effects, are called foley. Okay, so from A9 to A5 to A8 comes foley, mono foley. From A9 to A12 comes stereo sound effects, like a car passing by, ambience, people talking and walking, something like that. So anything that is moving, that is dynamically changing throughout the frame, whether it's in the foreground or the background, that kind of sound effects goes here. And I shall mark it like this. This is your stereo sound effect. Now from A15, 16, 17, we get something called stem. Okay, so oh my, yeah, stereo effects. 13, 14 is your stereo music. Okay, music as in normal BGM music, and you know music is stereo, so it comes here. Okay, in these last few tracks, you get what is called stem, and stem is something that you send to your audio engineer, audio mixer, mastering studio, whatever. So this particular track is of dialogue stem. So this is what is a processed dialogue given back to you. So when you have this one file, you add it to your timeline and you close these tracks, as in you turn them off, because this track replaces all these things. Your audio guy has processed all this and given you this. Now you have this track. This is just go back. This is SFX stem. Okay, that was dialogue stem. This is SFX stem, sound effects stem. So you know that these are the audio tracks which had sound effects, mono and stereo. You gave it to your, again, the audio guy. He or she processed it and gave you one single file of balanced sound effects. You put it here and you turn them off. Lastly, this is your music track. So when applying music here, okay, this could be a temp music as well, as in temporary music. You got inspiration from some music, you put it here and then gave it to your music guy. Okay, they composed a whole music for their timeline and then gave you one file to be replaced here in the end, and for that you will turn this track off. So now when you export, you have three audio tracks running, and all of this track that was used earlier for orchestration will be shut down, and you will only export with these three tracks. So while exporting, you will have one file of video that has both color correction and all your VFX shots combined, one master file, and you will have three audio master files to export. So now that you have understood that all this timeline is not that very daunting or not that very scary, because in the end only one video is going out and three audios are going out. Okay, so let's move on. Complex selections. So these are some of the advanced tools that you might have a little bit of problem understanding right now, but as we go towards more hands-on experience, we will see how this thing actually works. Um, Remember how we went to color code things, color code actors, as in actor, actresses, or shots, or scenes, or whatever in any form or order. So complex selections help you select all those clips that are specifically color coded. Uh, that say, for example, you want to select all the clips that are blue in color. Okay, why? Because say all those clips that are blue in color has been shot with one particular camera, camera B, for example, which is not matching up with your camera A, the primary camera. So you need a specific treatment just for all the blue clips, the camera B. So and you have smartly color coded the camera color blue. So you select all that and you can quickly apply one effect that corrects all the shots in and the camera blue pool. Okay, or you could have just selected all the or color coded all the uh, protagonist, actor, actresses, whatever. Okay, now the director suddenly wants, you know what, I want you to uh, put more B rolls of that actor. So you would either have color coding for the uh, actors, because there is a thing that you cannot color code one clip with two colors. That's the limitation. Your clip can either be one color at a time. So how do you select what to do and how to do? See, when it comes to differentiating actors as a mode of selection to be, or as a mode of selection that can be available to you in later stages of editing, the easiest way to do is put your A actor in V1, B actor in V2, C actor in V3. That's done. Now you have a complete segregation. All the footages in that track is of that actor. You can easily see the coverage. Okay. So now you have created a hierarchy in terms of selection. So anytime you have to manipulate all the footages of any particular actor, you select the whole track. You're done. Okay. Color coding, you color code other things that cannot be easily separated into tracks, and if it is done it would not make much sense, rather it would mess things up. Okay. uh, Say location. Okay, your thing could be shot on so many locations, but you cannot color code all those locations. You will forget what color is what location after some time. It should have the organization should follow some logic, and you should not have to remember that logic. That logic should come to you. That's the thumb rule for um, organization. You don't have to remember where you put something to organize something. You put you organize something with a certain intent, and now you forgot the intent. Now you have to remember what was the intent. It defines the whole purpose of organization, right? I hope it's making any sense to you. um, Trust me, it will make more sense as we move along these webinars. Okay, this thing is going to come back over and over again. I'll point it out. So complex selections, select drill. Okay, this is a bit of a jargon. Okay. um, Select reel is your choice of reel. Okay, your choice as in what you selected out of the given set of things. My bad. Given set of medium. You had a bin of 50 shots from different angles. Select reel is picking the shots out of those uh, bin, and then taking the best shots in the order they fit in the story, they make sense as a story, they progress the story, and they are what are called good takes. So your select reel is something that helps you speed up your editing process. So once your select reel is ready, you know that you don't have to select the shots from a pool of 50 clips. You have to select shots for editing from a pool of 10 clips only. That is it. Select reel is actually a quite like um, complicated and technical thing. I will dedicate a video specifically for select reel, and you will understand how much powerful it is. But that is for a completely separate uh, video, okay, because it is quite in depth when it comes to select reel, because there are editors in Hollywood, TV editors, movie editors, all that, um, who who absolutely go by their select reel. If their assistant editor messes up their select reel, they are literally not going to see what was in the original camera bin, okay, because they are dependent on select reels so much. Why an a 10-year veteran editor would go through uh, 6 8 shots to find one shot that was okay, that was given a good take by the director himself herself, and waste his or her time going through all those not okay shots, because the whole process of that veteran editor and to keep an assistant editor is to speed up the process. The editor in charge does not want to go through those scripts to add to his her clerical job. They are being paid for their creative job, so they don't want their creative flow to get interrupted by imperfect takes and slow them down. Okay, so going through all those imperfect takes and finding the good takes is the job of an assistant editor, and that is how a select reel is made. uh, a reel of unedited clips, but consisting of only good takes. That is it. Okay, now this gets a little bit kind of hands-on, real-world experience. Select reels. I'll show you in the next video how quick you can become as an editor if you are good with your select reels. But the thing is, most popular editing software is Premiere Pro, and Premiere Pro does not give you any method, any inbuilt feature to create a select reel. It is downright frustrating how slow it is to go through each clip to make a select reel in Premiere. It is literally slow. I'm not kidding. As compared to Resolve, who has an inbuilt feature that you don't have to put clips onto your timeline. If you have clips in your bin, you can open the bin in your source viewer and just click play, and it will literally go through all the clips in your bin back to back without stop, without gap, and you can clearly make in and outs from that source viewer and keep dropping them into your timeline. And if you have mastered and understood the input functions I taught you earlier, you would be flying through your select reel, because you will be using I and O for your in point and out point selection, and you will just be pressing F9 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 to make inserts, or F12 for append at the end. Okay, so just quickly going through again, I will give you a hands-on experience on how select reel works and how to make a select reel and how to make use of the select reel to help you become a faster editor in upcoming videos. Here, let's just focus on theoretical part of the select reel. Select reel is what makes a group of shots comprising a scene or group of scenes. Select reel helps you make a timeline of okay takes. It helps you it helps you do a rough trim. Okay, you don't want that clap where they say action and all that, and where they say cut in your timeline for obvious reasons. And in and out points of okay takes, you roughly trim it. Okay, just roughly, and it reduces your time to scavenge through the bins full of bad shot. It happens, your bins are 90% full of bad shots. Okay, nested sequence. a compound clip. Nested sequence is premier term, and compound clip is the same thing for resolve. So there could be a shot where you need lot of things, video clips to be stacked on top of each other, and that is making your timeline very complex, very messed up. You want to clean it up, you select all this and click nested sequence, a compound clip. This is essentially nothing but grouping multiple clips into one. Now, four clips now became a group and turned into one clip. I know a lot of you already know what is a nested sequence in Premiere. But one thing why I included this in becoming efficient editor is because if you right click on the nested sequence, you don't get any option to denest the sequence. Okay, you nested it for some reason, say for the ease of editing. While exporting, you want a granular control over all your clips, or you don't want to go back into nested sequence, double clicking it, going opening a new timeline and going there and on and off in the clip. No, you don't want that. So once you nest a sequence and you edit that sequence either inside the sequence or out of the, as in a completely, either you edit inside the nested sequence or you edit the nested sequence, there is no way in Premiere to unnest it. You cannot break it down or ungroup it into their original clips. But again, in Resolve, if you make a compound clip and you right click on the compound clip, you get an option to decompose the clip. And when you click the decompose, it literally ungroups that clip into its original constituent clips in the exact track order they were before grouping them, before making into a compound clip. This comes extremely handy when you want to unnest, ungroup something. Okay, moving on. Well, this is something that, you know, lot of people ask. Okay, what program to use to become a better editor? Okay, which is the best editing software in the market? Okay, or which editing software has the most functionality, most feature, this and that. Actually, none of those questions are correct. Those questions are framed very wrongly. It is like if I give you the greatest sword in the world, you will automatically become the world's greatest warrior. That doesn't do. It is not the sword, it is the fighter and how he or she wields the sword, right? In exactly the same way, an editing software is just a tool, an extension of your vision, a platform to submit or create or showcase your creativity in storytelling. Okay, you can make amazing stories in FCP, amazing films in Premiere Pro, amazing shows in Resolve, and Oscar winning things in um, Avid Media Composer. Okay, but if you ask me what is the best editing software in the market, or which I can download, which I can use, I would say the editing software you are most comfortable in. Say, I have always been a PC user. I have never edited on FCP. So although I have an experience and knowledge of editing, you put me in FCP, I will be very much, like bottlenecked and restrained, because I'll be hunting and searching around in that software for things that are like this for me in, say, Resolve. Okay, how to put this track over there and audio from here to there. I don't know what are the keyboard shortcuts. I don't know. Okay, so, and safe. Okay, you can completely ask a valid question. I'm just starting out. Okay, I don't know any software. I'm a clean slate. What editing software to start? Well, I cannot imagine I'm stating this, but it's a fact. If you're really starting out, and especially if you're a PC person, Start with Premiere. If you are a Mac person, um, it's a 50-50, completely 50-50. Start with FCP, start with Premiere. Start with Premiere if you want to go or do something in After Effects. It is much simpler for you to do from Premiere. So start with Premiere. That's a umbrella answer, it's a flat line answer. But as you grow as an editor, as a post-production artist, visual post-production artist, give yourself the room to say 1 year down the lane, 5 year down the lane, any damn time down the lane, if you find that other software is giving you more advantage, it's suiting your creative vision more, be open enough, flexible enough to shift, to switch, to change, because there should always be room for improvement. You're a great editor, but you feel that if I use that software, it will crash less on my system. I can work faster in my system, or I can do this or that or whatever. Make that switch. After all, it is you and your vision and the execution of it. Nothing else matters. Again, coming back to the software aspect, choose your tools wisely. Okay, say you have chosen FCP. Never compare which is a better editor, FCP or Premiere, FCP or Resolve. There will always be software, technical, computer science related, hardware related, coding related differences between two softwares. That is not your domain to brainstorm. Rather, see videos on how to become a better operator in that software, in that suite you have chosen. There has been great number of films made in almost every editing software that are out there, the major ones, NLEs. Okay, and you should rather not compare one editing software to another, but you should, if you are searching say on YouTube or Google, rather search how can I do this thing that can be done in After Effects in Resolve or in Fusion or in FCP. Search for that migration, how you can migrate from After Effects to Fusion, from After Effects to Apple Motion. That migration will help you understand both the software better, rather than just seeing a comparative video of which software is better, which can render faster, which can this. There will always be, like different. Some software will function better in one category, other will function better in other category. Choose the one that suits you, just you, your workflow, your idea, your creative vision. That's it. Don't worry about anything else. Okay, and yeah, that is it, I suppose. Sorry. Yeah, so I guess this concludes our completion of uh, webinar, and as uh, we left before our last um, part of the become an efficient editor series. So this part 2 concludes the efficient editor series, and I'll be coming up with more content in this week only, and be sure to check it out on my uh, YouTube account so that you can get notified of upcoming projects. I'll be conducting again this kind of live seminars, and yeah, uh, the next topic of this kind of the webinar will be very much, like beginner focused, intermediate focused, industry focused, and some basic questions that you don't get answered in film schools, and people don't talk about or give straight away answers in industry, or say you're working in a studio and you're happy with the studio, but there are some questions about the future and the progress of your career, and you don't know, like you can't ask your boss, you are asking your colleagues and they are giving like a vague answers. So I'm just trying to address those answers, some small doubts, some intrinsic fundamental things that you come across. And I hope you get some clearer picture about the craft and the industry with these videos of mine. And I'll see you again this week. Till then, bye bye. Have a good night.